We just finished verse 6 with saying, wonderfully, the distinction is the sign, oath, letter of the alphabet is made special. I will listen, hearken, regard the words of the guilty who have treacherously put my name, my place, my reputation, my renown to the fire. Aleph Tav, the man, the unfound hero, whose heart is ashamed at being clothed, seen as one who is other, lies and fabrication. The exalted man of fire, the Aleph, makes his head shine, walking straight, lifting up the things from above. To them he will bring forth himself. Birth myself, gush forth my water. Reminds me of the picture of the rock Moses spoke to, and one time he struck and it was gushing forth waters to feed his people. When she is at the right place, and he will be, I make the elevated supreme, exalted. He will make his right hand kind of water classified as distinctively a different sort compared to his left hand, itself bound from him into sheaves, though the name strong is towards him. The word is mem aleph lamed vav, which sounds like malo, which in Spanish means bad. So it's kind of saying, this is the phrase where it says lifting his right hand, his left hand to the heavens. It sounds like the word for left hand also means itself. It means bound from him. It means bound in sheaves. It almost sounds like, I'm just kind of filling out this one word, it almost sounds like the word for left hand used here, and there's another word for left hand used in another place, which isn't this word, but this word sounds like those who are of themselves, binding themselves into groups, who are apart from him, yet their name is strong towards him. It just, to me, sounds like Christian denominations. I might be wrong, but that's what it sounds like. It sounds to me like the people who say, Lord, Lord, and he says, I never knew you. It could be something else. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. But he says he will make his right hand kind of water classified as distinctively a different sort compared to his left hand, itself bound from him into sheaves, name strong towards him. Towards the names, the strength of the heavens, he will possess reality, the penitent who returns, sits and remains satisfied. That's the root of the word for Shabbat, by the way. Abounding and glutted with understanding. That oath sworn 7 times. Another ad lib here. The oath sworn 7 times looks to me like the festivals. Each one is an oath that he swears by, saying, this is a picture of my ways. This is a picture of my ways. This is a picture of my ways. 7 times. There's a word that he spoke to regarding Cyrus. He said, Ani Yod He Vav He, Ein Od Zulti, Ein Elohim. He says, I am Yod He Vav He. There is no other Zulti. And the word Zulti, which means that thing which has been kicked out and discarded, but it's also my separate, set-apart thing, which is the man of my covenant, or the connection of my covenant. There is no other power. There is no other strength. There's nothing else I can say. He says in this one verse, I think it's in Isaiah, it's a bit of a rabbit trail, but he's saying, listen, you want words of life? I've already given you words of life. I've sworn them 7 times. I can't give you any words of life. Anything else I would say different from these are not these. There is no other power. There's no other Elohim. There's no other strength. It's the same message again and again and again. This is the message. You want the words of life? These are the words of life. You don't like them? You get something that's not words of life. It goes back to Psalm 11, which is another subject which I don't know if we'll get to. Psalm 11, verse 3, if the foundations have been destroyed, if the road signs which have told us where the ways of life and strength are, that if we had done them successfully, we would have found blessing and richness in them. If those signs have been removed by arrogant men who have torn them down and put up other signs which are not the correct road signs, what's going to happen now? Nothing good would happen. And what will the righteous do? They have nothing to follow. That's what Psalms 11 verse 3 mentions which I believe has to do with the obliteration of the Sabbath day and the festivals and the words of the Torah. Let's go back. Examine my chet, his fenced, prescribed area. Examine my chet. In me is life. Measure it. Test me. It remains forever. It's hidden from the wrongdoer, curtained off from mankind forever. Therefore, thus, my open hand. Regarding the appointed occasion, the signal forewarned about, the appointed place to meet as a soldier, Moedim, the appointed meeting place, the appointed sign, signal. One word for sign and signal is ot. Another word for sign, signal, besides the one used here, is nun somic. The living menorah, the lit menorah, the living one on the menorah. Apparently in Arabic, from what I understand, they say that the nun is a snake. So the serpent lifted up on the somic. Karen was doing a picture of a banner with the nun somic, with the nun superimposed on the ceramic, surrounded by the letters of the alphabet in Paleo, which is, she has that in the car she's working on. But anyway, it's a picture of, Yeshua said, as Moshe lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, that all would look up to it would be healed from the viper bites. Lifting up the nun somic, the banner, the ensign, the signal, the oath, so that if we look to it, we'll find life and live. It's the same picture, the same message, again and again and again. My arrow divides into two halves. In Hebrew, it's exactly the word for, I believe it's chetz, which is a chetzadik, and that's like an enclosure that's been split. This has to do with splitting open. And it has to do with an arrow, something bisected into these two halves. So basically the word there is my arrow divides into two halves. Like so, all clumped together into enclaves of shrieking. They are to be kept. They're to be destroyed, or they are destroyed. Sounds like people say about the festivals and the Sabbath day. They're to be kept, they're destroyed. He's talking here about his arrow dividing into two halves, clumping together into enclaves of shrieking. Regard the festivals. They've been destroyed. This is Daniel 12. This is written 500 years before Yeshua even walked around to apparently get rid of them. Detonating, exploding into pieces like a storm, hand strength resting place of kinfolk close beside brethren, set apart sacred kadosh. Think of that. This is the phrase. This is regarding the Moedim and the festivals. This is a three-word phrase. And I believe it's Yod, kinfolk, kadosh. The arm of the set-apart people. The hand on the door. Put your hand on the door handle. The hand on the door is the strong arm. The people, that's the kinfolk and the brethren, the close grouped people who understand or believe or have insight to Mem, the promises of like Shavuot, of the times where he said, I spoke life as the seed in the ground, and in its time it'll bring forth the promise. Those are my people who understand what I said, who have evaluated and measured it and believe the promise, kadosh, the rised up, clean stuff. Otherwise, this is translated in English as the word holy. It means set apart, it means sacred or sanctified. That's who he's referring to here, about apparently those who keep the regard of the Moedim. Finally, oppression, maltreatment's purpose of being allowed will be over with. Blue skies. All these who swear to goddess, strong ones, I and my majesty, from the time I did hear, and not distinguish between the masterminds and the agents, She rebelled in blatant disobedience to the high words of the heart of commandments, statements of Torah referenced by the tzitzit fringes. I will determine what comes forth from me. I will be friend or be brother, working anger and wrath. These strong ones who swear by God. I will delay, pity, postpone the inscripted words till the very end, till the future remnant. Kind of sounds like the last minute. Verse 9, and he will say high words, deliver commands to the people of Resh. To you, go, choose what I have implemented as strength of hand. Through the door, go on. Thus hiding them and sealing them, the pure form of branched connections, and the kingdom, the Mishkan reference, the rational theoretical stipulations concerning plagues and pastures, curses and blessings, the agreed on terms, the cause and manner of guidance they produce are delivered into your hand to cover until the time Kuf Zadi. He will break off, separate, purify his Resh man, examined, proven to be clarified, sharpened, and selected. He will make a heap of ruins in us into white-hot bricks worthy of his son. And he will make combinations, refined theories that are imaginary, devised and fashioned, composed of feebleness, which is the vast majority's platform, stage, or pulpit, and the very work that condemns the whole lot of them together. The licensed, permitted creditor and the weak beggar. Wicked ones facilitate or authorize, license or permit the poor to gaze at manifestations, at emanations of iniquity and sin. And not, he will distinguish, interpolate, separate, explain the observance of our observations. He will not understand us, be among us, divide us, or get between us. And the ideas, concepts of they who consider, look at intelligently, instructed or taught, stretch the matter to analogy, place the matters according to the original terms of the covenant. And here there's a word that talks about placing things like cross sticks. And if you understand that the original sign of the covenant is the cross sticks of the Tav, then this thing here says something about cross sticks, makes me think that it's like it's talking about placing matters according to the original terms of the covenant. Anyway, of the garment of thorns and splinters, the booth as a vessel to miscarry, abort the prolongation of the curse, which is the child or the product of sin or whoring, speaking of Hosea. He will separate his own. He will be among his. He will consider attentively his own. He's basically saying when you regard his ways, the Kuf Zadi, then the curse which was implemented on account of forsaking his ways is put to an end. Now here's another interesting piece here, the next to the last verse, that sounds like it's talking about the time of what looks like to me, Yeshua being on the earth. From the appointed time of, or the cosmological occasion, or the fullness of time had come, the man of sorrows, the continually, perpetually perfect specimen, the stem, the transmutated hand without blemish, immediately upon being subterfused or undermined, which is to say betrayed, sounds like, considered to be detestable, abominable, idolatrous, loathed, abhorred, sickeningly dreaded, is put to the thorn and made to shrink. It sounds like Yeshua. That's what they thought of him and what they did to him. Desolated, deserted, ruined, destroyed, labeled as crazy, demented, insane, horrifying one is his reputation. That's what they thought of him. This is days hydrated, mixed with water according to the plan, of plowsharing with you regarding ethics, and for a short moment as a basket whose strong fruit is weakness, hydrated as grain as before grinding. It almost sounds like being mixed with water. It makes me think of the words of like the sign of Jonah being put into the belly of the whale for 3 days and 3 nights. But Again, I'm just reading you the words, and it's like, what does this mean is a whole other thing. I'm trying to read you the other way of reading this thing in Daniel.